Just smile. My fiancée's mom hissed through her teeth, like I was the one ruining dinner, while her daughter's sister stood up with her phone raised and said, loud enough for the whole restaurant to hear, Miles, I can't keep this secret anymore. Every head turned. Forks paused midair. The waiter froze beside our table like he'd walked into the wrong scene. Brooke, Harper's older sister, put on this shaky voice, like she was about to cry. I've been sick over this, she said. But you deserve to know. Harper's been cheating. I have proof. My chest tightened so hard I felt in my throat. Heat rushed up my cheeks. Harper's face went white, then flushed, like her body couldn't decide whether to fight or disappear. What? Harper whispered. Brooke, stop. Brooke didn't stop. She tapped her screen and turned it toward me. 12 photos. Harper standing beside a man near a dark sedan. Harper laughing in a booth across from him. Harper outside a diner at night. Her coat draped over one arm, his hand hovering near her waist like they were mid-story. The table went silent except for Harper's breathing. In my peripheral vision, her father, Frank, sat back with this grim look that said, I knew it. Her mother, Diane, covered her mouth, not in shock, more like she wanted to look shocked. Someone at the next table whispered, Oh my gosh. Brooke leaned in closer. I'm sorry, Miles, she said, and her eyes flicked to Harper like a warning. I didn't want to do it like this, but you were about to propose. The ring box was in my jacket pocket. Suddenly it felt heavier than my whole body. Harper reached for my arm. Her fingers trembled. Miles, please. That's not. Frank cut her off. Harper, he said sharply. Don't make excuses. My stomach dropped, not just from the pictures, but from how quickly her own family stood on Brooke's side. I swallowed, hard, tried to keep my voice steady. Send them, I said quietly. Brooke blinked like she'd just won a prize. You want them? I said send them. I repeated. Harper's eyes filled. Miles, don't do this here. I'm not making a decision in front of an audience, I said, keeping my tone calm, even though my hands felt numb. I just need the facts. Brooke smirked, barely, but I saw it, then texted the photos to me on the spot. She sat down like she performed a public service. Here's the backstory in the simplest way. Harper and I lived in a small suburb outside Chicago, where I worked building maintenance for a hospital, and she worked as a physical therapy assistant. We weren't flashy, but we were real. Her family wasn't built like that. Frank measured people by titles. Diane measured people by who clapped for them. And Brooke treated Harper like a competitor, not a sister. She'd throw jokes at me like, Are you sure you can afford a wife? She'd call me Mr. Toolbox in front of people. Harper always tried to smooth things over, like it was her job to keep the peace. Tonight was supposed to be our engagement dinner, a family moment. Diane had insisted on a nice restaurant and the big table. Brooke insisted on sitting across from me, smiling like she was helping plan my future, right up until she decided to burn it down. Frank stared at me. Well, he said, what kind of man stays after that? My throat tightened. Harper's hand hovered near mine, but she didn't grab it. She looked like she was afraid that touching me would make everything worse. I stood up slowly. My chair scraped loud against the floor, and I hated how that sound made everyone look at me like I was the entertainment. I'm stepping outside, I said. Harper, come with me. Diane lifted her brows like I'd insulted her tablecloth. Miles, don't be dramatic. I'm not, I said. I'm being respectful. Brooke crossed her arms. Or you're in denial. Harper stood, shaky but fast. Outside, the night air hit my face, and I finally got a full breath. Harper's eyes were glassy. Her voice cracked. I swear to you, she said. I didn't cheat. I didn't. I looked down at my phone, opened the clearest photo, and zoomed in on a street sign behind them. The letters sharpened. Madison. My heart thudded. That wasn't anywhere we'd been together. And then I checked the file details. The date punched through me like a cold truth. 3 years ago, before Harper and I even met. I stared at the screen, then at her, and my voice came out low and steady. Harper, I said, these photos are old. Her breath shook. I told you I had an ex, she whispered. But Brooke knows that. She knows. And that's when the embarrassment turned into something else. Because this wasn't a warning. It was a trap. We sat in my car in the parking lot, the restaurant glowing behind us like a stage we'd just escaped. Harper wiped her cheeks with the heel of her hand, trying to stop crying like she could force her emotions to behave. I dated him in college, she said. His name is Logan. It ended badly, but not like she swallowed. Not like cheating. Just messy. I blocked him. I moved. I started over. My hands gripped the steering wheel. I could still hear Frank's voice in my head. What kind of man stays after that? Like love was a test you failed if you didn't run. So Brooke waited until tonight, I said, in front of everyone. Harper nodded, her jaw tight. She wanted it public. What? My chest felt tight again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was anger trying to climb up. Harper stared out the windshield. Because Grandma Evelyn trusts me, she whispered. That made my eyebrows lift. Your grandmother? She's not doing well, Harper said, and her voice softened when she said it. But she's still sharp. She's the only person in my family who never made me feel small. And she asked me to be the executor of her trust. I turned toward her. Executor? That's serious. Harper let out a shaky breath. Brooke wants that role. She wants control. She wants everyone to keep asking her for permission. Grandma told her no. I stared at the restaurant doors. Brooke's silhouette moved past the window, laughing, talking, like she hadn't just tried to wreck someone's life. Harper's phone buzzed nonstop, text from her mother, her father, probably Brooke too. She flipped it over, face down, like she was protecting herself from their noise. Let's go home, I said. At my apartment. Harper went straight to the kitchen table like she needed something solid under her hands. She opened her laptop and pulled up old emails. Old messages. A timeline she shouldn't have to prove. Look, she said, voice still trembling. This was 3 years ago. I told him to stop. I told him I was done. I read the messages. Nothing flirty. Nothing secret. Just a young woman setting boundaries. My stomach loosened a little, enough to breathe. Then my phone buzzed. Frank. I didn't answer. Then Diane. Then Brooke, of course. Brooke sent one message. Stop ignoring me. You're making a mistake. Harper's hands shook. She's going to keep pushing, she whispered. That's what she does. She pushes until people give up. I looked at Harper, this woman who spent her days helping patients learn to trust their bodies again, while her own family made her doubt her worth. I'm not giving up, I said. Harper's eyes lifted. You still want to marry me? I reached across the table and took her hand, steadying her tremble. I want the truth, I said, and I want us to handle this like adults. Calm, clean, no shouting. A knock at my door like someone had no shame. I opened it, and there stood Brooke, dressed like she'd come to deliver another performance. Behind her, Diane hovered, arms crossed, eyes sharp with judgment. Brooke stepped in without being invited. I can't believe you're still with her, she said, pointing at Harper like she was a stain. Diane sighed dramatically. Miles, honey, we're trying to help you. Harper stood slowly, cheeks flushing. Help. You humiliated me. Brooke rolled her eyes. You humiliated yourself. I showed him proof. From 3 years ago. I said evenly. Brooke's smile twitched. Old photos can still show character. And fake concern can still show motive, I said. Brooke's eyes narrowed. I didn't fake anything. Then why did you make it look like it was happening now? I asked. Why did you announce it like a press conference? Diane stepped forward. Miles, are you accusing my daughter of lying? I'm saying the story doesn't match the evidence, I replied, keeping my voice calm. My heart was beating hard, but I refused to give them drama. Brooke pulled out her phone again. Fine, she said. You want current? Here. She shoved it toward me. Screenshots of messages between Harper and someone saved as L. Flirty lines. Late-night timestamps. The kind of thing designed to make your stomach drop. Harper gasped. That's not my number, she said immediately. That's not even my texting style. Brooke's mouth curled. Wow, denial is powerful. I stared at the screenshots. My eyes moved to the timestamp format, the spacing, the contact photo. Then I noticed something small that made everything click. Harper's contact photo in the screenshot was an old photo from her public profile, one she'd changed months ago. And the message bubbles looked off, like they'd been pasted. I handed the phone back gently. These are fabricated, I said. Brooke's face hardened. Prove it. Before I could answer, Harper's phone rang. Unknown number. She put on speaker. This is Mr. Carter with Ridgeway Legal, a man said. Ms. Quinn, your grandmother requested a trust meeting tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. She asked that all immediate family attend. Brooke went still. Diane blinked fast. Tomorrow? What? The lawyer's voice stayed formal. Ms. Caldwell has concerns about interference and harassment. She wants everything addressed with counsel present. Harper's breath caught. And Brooke didn't look confident anymore. She looked scared. The next morning, Harper and I walked into Ridgeway Legal with our shoulders squared, but our nerves buzzing. The waiting room smelled like coffee and paper. Calm, professional, not emotional. Exactly what we needed. Brooke was already there, sitting too straight, tapping her nails like she owned the place. Diane sat beside her, whispering like they were preparing a defense. Frank stood near the window with his arms crossed, looking irritated that his morning had been interrupted. When Harper walked in, Frank glanced at her, then at me, and said under his breath, "This is unnecessary." Harper's hand trembled in mine. I felt it. I squeezed gently. "It's necessary," I said quietly. A door opened. Ms. Evelyn Caldwell. A receptionist called, and then Harper's grandmother stepped out, small, silver-haired, wearing a simple blue cardigan, but moving with a kind of authority that made the room fall silent. Frank's posture shifted immediately. Diane's face softened into a polite mask. Brooke's smile snapped on like a switch. "Grandma," Brooke chirped. "You look so good." Grandma Evelyn didn't return the smile. She looked at Harper first. "Honey," she said softly, "come here." Harper walked to her like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. Grandma Evelyn touched Harper's cheek. "I heard what happened," she said. Harper's eyes filled again, but she nodded. "I'm okay," she whispered, though she clearly wasn't. Grandma Evelyn turned to the lawyer beside her. Mr. Carter, mid-50s, glasses, calm voice. "Let's begin," she said. We moved into the conference room. Files were stacked neatly. Everything felt controlled. Safe. Mr. Carter sat at the head of the table. Ms. Caldwell requested this meeting due to recent events involving false allegations, harassment, and attempted manipulation connected to her estate planning. Brooke scoffed. "False. I told the truth." Mr. Carter slid a folder forward. "Let's be clear. The photos you presented to Mr. Brooks. Parker." I corrected automatically, then caught myself. "Sorry. Miles Parker." Mr. Carter nodded. "To Mr. Parker were real, but from 3 years ago. You presented them as current. And the screenshots you showed yesterday have been analyzed." Brooke's chin lifted. "Analyzed by who?" "A digital forensics consultant," Mr. Carter said calmly. "They were fabricated." Diane's breath hitched. Frank's eyes narrowed. Harper's fingers tightened around mine. Brooke leaned forward. "This is ridiculous. Anyone could." Grandma Evelyn raised one hand. Brooke stopped mid-sentence like she'd been muted. Grandma Evelyn's voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. "Brooke," she said, "do you know why I asked Harper to be executor?" Brooke's eyes flashed. "Because she plays the victim and you fall for it." Grandma Evelyn's gaze stayed steady. "No," she said. "Because Harper has never tried to control me. She visits without asking for money. She listens. She helps." Diane tried to smile. "Mom, we all help." Grandma Evelyn turned her eyes to Diane. "You help when there's an audience," she said. "That's different." Frank cleared his throat. "Evelyn, we're family." Grandma nodded. "Exactly. Which is why betrayal cuts deeper." Last night, I received an email. Mr. Carter opened the folder and slid printed pages across the table. This email came from a throwaway account linked to Ms. Brooke Gray's phone. It includes a message to Harper's ex, Logan Reed, offering him money to confirm a story. Brooke's face drained so fast it looked unreal. Harper's mouth fell open. "Logan," emailed Grandma. Grandma Evelyn nodded. "He did," she said. "He said he wanted no part of it. He said he didn't even know you were engaged until someone contacted him." My stomach turned. Brooke wasn't just spreading an old story. She was trying to build a new lie. Frank slammed his palm lightly on the table. "Brooke," he snapped. "Tell me this isn't true." Brooke's eyes darted to Diane, like she was looking for backup. Diane stared at the papers, lips trembling. Brooke's voice came out sharp. "I was protecting Harper from making a mistake." Harper stood up, her hands shaking, her breath uneven. "You were protecting yourself," she said. "You wanted me alone. You wanted me embarrassed. You wanted me to lose someone good, so I go back to being the sister you can step on." Brooke's face twisted. "Oh, please." Mr. Carter cleared his throat. "Due to this interference, Ms. Caldwell has amended her trust provisions. Ms. Brooke Gray is removed as a beneficiary. Additionally, a no-harassment clause has been added." Brooke shut up. "You can't do that." Grandma Evelyn looked at her calmly. "I can," she said. "And I am." Brooke's mouth opened, but no words came out. For the first time since that restaurant, Harper's shoulders stopped caving inward, and I realized the twist wasn't just legal. It was emotional. Harper wasn't alone anymore. Brooke stormed out of the conference room like she could outrun consequences, but the quiet that followed felt heavier than her footsteps. Diane sat frozen, staring at the paperwork like it had slapped her. Frank looked like someone had pulled the floor out from under his pride. Grandma Evelyn didn't celebrate. She just looked tired, like a woman who'd carried too many family disappointments and finally set them down. Mr. Carter spoke gently. "To be clear," he said, "any further harassment toward Ms. Quinn or Mr. Parker will result in legal action. We can file for a protective order if needed." Harper's throat moved as she swallowed. She nodded. "I don't want drama," she said softly. "I just want peace." Frank rubbed his face. "Harper," he muttered, "why didn't you tell us it was this serious?" Harper's eyes lifted slowly. "Because every time I tell you something serious," she said, voice steady but emotional, "you make it about how it looks, not how it feels." Diane's eyes filled. "Honey," Harper didn't shout. "That's what made it powerful." She just said, "You watched me get humiliated. You didn't ask if I was okay. You asked what people would think." Frank's jaw clenched. His voice came out rough. "I was wrong," he said, like it physically hurt him to admit it. Diane reached for Harper's hand. Harper hesitated, just a second, then let Diane touch her fingers. Grandma Evelyn cleared her throat. "This isn't about punishment," she said quietly. "It's about protection. Harper deserves a life where she doesn't have to prove she's worthy of respect." My chest tightened again, but this time it wasn't panic. It was something warm and painful, like relief mixed with gratitude. Mr. Carter handed Harper a sealed letter. "Miss Caldwell asked that you read this privately," he said. Harper took it with both hands, like it mattered, like it was heavy in a different way than my ring box. We stepped out of the building a few minutes later. The sun was bright, the air crisp, and Harper's breathing finally sounded normal. In the parking lot, she opened the letter. Her lips trembled as she read. Then she covered her mouth, not to hide words, just to hold herself together. Tears slipped down her cheeks. "What does it say?" I asked softly. Harper looked up at me, eyes shining. "It says she's proud of me," she whispered, "and she's leaving me the lake house. Not because of money, because she wants me to have a place where I feel safe, a place where I can breathe." I let out a slow breath, my throat tight. "You deserve that," I said. Harper nodded, wiping her cheeks. And she wrote something else. She tried to smile through tears. She wrote, "Choose people who choose you back." Quietly, consistently. My hand slid into my jacket pocket. The ring box was still there, still warm from being carried all night. "Harper," I said, and my voice shook a little despite my best effort. She looked at me. "Miles, we can wait," she whispered, like she didn't want to pressure me. "I'm not doing this because your family finally saw the truth," I said. "I'm doing this because I saw the truth. You didn't cheat. You didn't lie. You stood still while a storm tried to push you over. And you stayed you." Her eyes widened. "Miles." I opened the ring box. My hands weren't perfectly steady, but I didn't care. "I was going to propose at that dinner," I said. "And Brooke tried to turn it into a scene. But I'm not giving her that power. So I'm asking you now, away from their table, away from their opinions." Harper's breath caught. Her hand flew to her mouth. "Will you marry me?" I asked. She laughed through tears, a small sound that felt like freedom. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." Later that evening, my phone buzzed with one final message for Brooke. It wasn't an apology. It was short, bitter. "You'll regret this." I showed it to Harper. She stared at it for a moment, then calmly blocked the number. No speech, no comeback, just a boundary. And as we sat together on my couch, her head on my shoulder, I realized something simple and true. Sometimes life doesn't flip the table with chaos. Sometimes it turns the tables with truth and the quiet decision to finally treat yourself like you matter.